So welcome everybody. This is podcast episode number 1. And yes, we are now venturing out into the world of podcasting. Why? I do not know.
You've been talking about this for a long time now, so I guess...
Well, I wouldn't say it's been too terribly long.
Well, a little while.
So here's the thing. I've actually even been asked by some viewers to do some podcast, and I shot it down. And that wasn't that long ago, or I just didn't respond. And I apologize if you're watching this, because I just didn't really know a whole lot about podcasting. I'm so busy as it is right now with all the social media and everything that we do that I just wasn't sure. But lo and behold, the more I started thinking about it, I started listening to some podcasts here lately. And I was like, you know what? I think this would be kind of fun. Why on earth we're starting a third channel whenever we already have 2 social media channels going on. By the way, if you're new and this is the first time finding us, we'll talk about that. Podcast number 1 here is kind of an introduction to who we are, what the heck's going on, and what's the future of this thing right here. So like I said, video podcast number 1 right here. We're going to allow this to stream with some audio in places, video. And for those of you that don't know us, let's just do a quick introduction right here. The format is going to change completely. Let me go ahead and forewarn you on that. As you can see, we're podcasting from our kitchen table. Mm-hmm. Very professional, eh?
Right.
I know it's driving you crazy.
It is driving me crazy.
So we have 2 social media channels. One is the Kelleys Country Life, where we literally built this house with our bare hands, developing our property, just kind of a country blue-collar way of living, let's just call it that. And then I have one that's the Kelleys Outdoors, which it's mainly me. Tiffany occasionally gets to come because I have a little bit more enjoyable of a job than she does. I do social media for a living, by the way. And we have taught and met so many people, literally 80,000+ subscribers, I think, between both of them and climbing. While that's not a lot in the social media world, it's enough that I've had some interesting conversations with people, and I thought it would be fun to carry it over into the podcasting world. So going forward, the future of what we're planning to do here is to bring some of our listeners over from our other channels. And how did we word this the other day? Almost a Kelleys After Dark. We'll call it that. So I haven't even told you the name of our podcast. I had to change it. I could not get the name that I wanted. I thought for sure it was going to be available, and I went to sign up on Google today and YouTube, and somebody with 1 subscriber already has the channel name that I really wanted.
Darn.
Thought about contacting them and be like, hey, cancel your channel. Let me figure out how to buy it from you for not much money with your 1 subscriber, and let's get the name we want. So we're officially calling the podcast the Kelleys Off Script. So to speak, everything's going to be off script here. We're not coming in with anything more than a topic to talk about. That's what podcasts generally are. And some people do podcasts on one specific subject, day in, day out, whether that's finances, marriage, whatever that may be. I want to do the exact opposite. Some of my favorite podcasters, like I listen to a lot of Joe Rogan. I love Micro, probably my favorite one. There's literally different subjects to talk about every single time. And let's just face it, there's so much going on in the world with marriage that we could talk about, with finances, I don't want to get much into politics. Oh my goodness, there's plenty of people talking about that, but we will probably divulge that some here, and views, opinions, and things such as that. There's just plenty to talk about. And
so does this come with a disclaimer?
Well, I think we're heading toward the disclaimer for the people that just jumped over that know us well, that's coming from our other channels. So disclaimer, I just want to let you know the Kelleys After Dark approach is kind of what I threw at it. We're not going to call the podcast that, because moving forward, I want to bring different guests on. I want different topics, different views, and it may be subjects that viewers on the other channels bring up. I'm totally fine with that. It may be views and subjects that are personal to us. But here is your disclaimer for all the people that's coming over. We're going to be a little more less censored, a little more open and honest, so to speak, on this particular podcast than we are on our other channels. Not that we're necessarily censoring ourselves on our other channels, but we just have a specific way about the way those channels are run, and a specific guideline that we follow, just personal decisions. But I'm going to go ahead and let you know over here on this podcast, we're going to kind of talk about touchy subjects, any and everything. So if you think some stuff that we could talk about could change your views and opinions on us from the other channel, you may not want to watch it, but I have a feeling a lot of y'all are really going to want to hear some inputs inside things, what goes on behind the scenes, behind all the social media stuff, our personal life, things such as that. There's so much we could discuss, and it's all going to kind of be a, well, simple-minded, blue-collar approach, not to label that as something that's bad. That's just kind of the world that we live in, our simplistic way of thinking. We're doing a homestead here. We're just kind of, well, let's just call it laid-back country folks that think a certain way, and there's millions of other people that think the same way as well, and I would just love to have some intelligent conversations with people. That's the other thing I really wanted to talk about with this podcast. I'm always so open to conversations, and I welcome them. I literally read and respond to thousands of comments a week. I pride myself on our social media accounts, spending so much time talking with people. There's so many different views and opinions. And one thing I have always liked about conversation that I really want to dig into with podcast, even uncomfortable conversations, is you may have a completely different view and opinion than I do on something. Well, natural instincts just, I don't want to hear it, you're wrong, get out of my life. But if people would open their minds and actually have an intelligent conversation on subjects, which we plan to do on the podcast, there's always something you can take and learn from somebody else's different view and perspective, even if it's something you don't agree with at all.
Right.
There's always kind of that aha moment in a conversation like that. You're like, I never really thought about it that way. That's something awesome to think about and take back and apply. Doesn't mean you're going to change your view and opinion on things. All right, so back to the title of this podcast. It's podcast number 1, Who the Heck We Are. And I've already forewarned y'all, coming up on all the next podcasts, I literally already have 40 in mind, subjects I want to talk on. It's going to be somebody different every time, but
He likes to talk.
I do like to talk. I get in trouble with that all the time in comments on my videos. If this guy would shut up and just work more, well, hey, man, there's a million other YouTube channels out there, actually tens of millions. Go watch one of them, or go watch TikTok, as I always say. By the way, we're going to ruffle some feathers over here with stuff like that. We're going to talk about any and everything, but the first episode right here is Who the Heck We Are, in case you've stumbled across this. And for the people that are watching our channel, literally 80+ thousand people, that's just on YouTube, by the way. That's not counting Facebook and everywhere else. There's a lot of people that's been watching us since day one. We've been doing this a couple of years now, and they still don't have a clue who the heck we are. A lot of people don't go back and watch older videos, even though we've got...
Or they don't get on our live streams, and they don't get to hear our individual
That's right.
stories.
We do weekly live streams, which is kind of similar to podcasting to me, but it's live, so we're kind of going after multiple subjects that people are putting in the comments. Whereas a podcast, we can focus on an individual subject if we want, air that out, edit it. Oh my goodness, that's going to be so nice to edit. We mess up in our live streams all the time. Our people know that. So yeah, there's going to be constant change of topics and people in and out. But today's topic is who the heck we are. How the heck did we get here? So let's share some information that people that's been watching us for a long period of time may or may not know. And you may have just stumbled across this podcast. So going back to how we met, my goodness, what's that been? Hang on, let me get it right.
Yeah, can you get it right?
It's over 18 and a half years ago.
Yeah.
I think next April will be
19,
19 years, if I remember correctly. We've been married. We just celebrated 15 years of marriage. And how we met, for the people that ask, we get asked this on our live streams from time to time. So a crazy story. I used to hang out with a guy that was dating Tiffany's, I guess, best friend at the time, yes. And how we got our introduction, a lot of people don't know this about us, was she went and told me, hey, there's this girl that you got to meet, because she was hanging out with the guy that I knew one day. And then she went to Tiffany and said, there's this guy that you got to meet. And essentially a blind date was formed. But how did they hook us? What was the one thing in common that your friend said that you've got to meet this guy because he has such an interest that you do?
Yeah, when she came to me, she was like, hey, I know this guy that's friends with my current boyfriend. She's like, I think you'll like him. I'm like, okay, why will I like him? And she's like, well, he likes rock music like you do. And I'm like, okay.
That crazy rock music, she
Yeah.
said, right? That crazy loud
I'm like,
rock
what?
and roll.
Out of all the comparisons, like, you're like, okay, they like rock music. It's so strange. Let's connect them.
So I got thrown the same sales pitch here of, hey, there's this girl over here you got to meet. She listens to that same crazy wild rock music that you do. Because at the time, everybody was listening to, I guess, some alternative.
Yeah.
Rap was very popular at the time, and all the kids our age were just into that. So those of us that were listening to some very heavy metal and hard rock were few and far between. So I
Right,
guess we
I
kind of
guess.
stood out in a weird little way.
Yeah.
So, long story short, I go on this blind date to meet Tiffany after she gets out of prom, of all things, and I'm waiting in
Went
a
to prom with my best friend, Tiffany.
yeah, crazy Tiffany's. You know what they say about Tiffany's?
And Tiffany was supposed to also get hooked up with one of your friends.
Yeah, one of my
but
best friends at the time. That's
she
true.
wasn't interested. She was kind of in and out of another relationship, so she wasn't really truly interested in
Yeah.
a different relationship.
So, anyways, I'm sitting at the Jiffy at the time, waiting on
Here,
her.
I'd actually have a prom picture here.
Well, I'm waiting on her to get out of prom, and this is exactly how she. No, you weren't dressed like that, but I remember
No,
seeing
yeah.
you like this.
All right, let me get the dust off this thing here. But this is my prom picture with my best friend Tiffany. So Andrew met me at the Jiffy store after prom.
Yeah, and I did. I think we pulled up to prom. You come out and said a few words, and then I went and met at the Jiffy. But
Really?
yeah, because I remember you in that dress. I do.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I
Don't
think
remember
y'all
that.
came out, and then y'all went back in, so we're going to meet a little later. But
Oh, okay.
anywho, back to the story. Tiffany comes bebopping out of the car that she comes pull up in, bouncing all around. I'm kind of shy to myself, not even really sure what the heck a blind date is. Never been on one in my life. Why am
I
I?
didn't even really know I was on a blind date.
Well, that's what I call it because we were both hooked up blindly. I mean, we
Yeah.
just didn't know. There wasn't
A
really.
blind meet.
It wasn't pop. There wasn't. We didn't hop on Facebook back then. It
Right.
didn't exist. I don't even know if MySpace existed back then or anything. We
No,
didn't.
I think it did.
Well, we didn't have smartphones, so you didn't just really jump on there and figure out who this
Right.
person was. So it was the blind leading the blind here walking into this.
Mm-hmm.
Well, anyways, when this girl comes bebopping out of this vehicle, bouncing all around, highly energetic, right up to me, what's your name, yada yada yada. I was like, oh no, this ain't gonna work. Nope, not gonna work at all. But obviously it did work out. We went and met a little bit later that night. I really thought she was still maybe a bit much for me.
Well, I was having a good night. I was out with my friend, and we had just left prom, so
Well, needless to say, she talked me into it. So we met up the next day on the river.
we did actually have another picture
You
of
have
that.
a picture of us on the river? Oh, my goodness gracious. I didn't know she was bringing out all these photos for this stuff. Oh, my goodness. We look like babies.
Yeah, a friend of mine, well, the friend that actually hooked us up, I guess thought that I better get their very first picture because they're going to marry.
I'm going to have to see if I can snap a photo and figure out how to insert this into the podcast here. But that cowlick hairdo
Put it
that
up
I
to
had,
the
I'm going to put it
camera.
up there. We look like babies.
We do look like
I completely
babies.
forgot about this photo. Oh my goodness.
So cute.
Yeah, I guess it is. I look like some little Backstreet Boy or something with that hairdo right there. Oh my goodness. So that's quite funny. So, as they say, the rest is history. We wound up having our little summer fling. You went off to college, I guess it was, did some dual enrolling and other things. We kept in touch. I guess we still technically dated through
Yeah,
that
we
time.
were still together through that.
Stayed in contact, which was very difficult. She come back a little while later, and then we continued to date for how many years?
3.5.
3.5 years, and then
3.5.
somebody finally gave me
Long
the
years.
ultimatum. You better put a ring on it, as the girls say.
Yeah, I mean, 3.5 years. We should know we had lived together for 2 of those years. We just decided to, live together. I was going to college, and, it made more sense to do that. And I'm glad we did because, we got to figure out what life was going to be
Yeah.
like.
So first touchy subject of the podcast series,
Right.
living together before marriage. Well, I know everybody's views and opinions on that, and totally respect everybody's views and opinions on it. At the time we made the decision to, I don't think Mom was too terribly happy about
Right.
that, but just because of, well, old
Right.
school raising and things such as that. But you did.
I mean, we had our own convictions about it.
We
or
did.
I did anyway.
But you hit on a very valid point there. We totally got to know each other and see all the behind the scenes of I'm apparently a slob sometimes with the house, and you apparently could tolerate it. And I got to see that you were a clean freak and would get upset about it. And we learned all these things about each other and decided, hey, we're still going to get married at the end of the day.
I know the moral of, the situation is, not, the best scenario for, Christian and, everybody else's views on it. But for us, it made sense. It made sense for my life. I had moved out really early, and I needed a more stable environment for me to go to school and for me to focus on my career. So it just made more sense for us to live together.
And at the time, I remember when you were working at a certain place, it was you had a place to stay, you didn't have a place to stay, and there was a lot of bouncing around. I remember you trying to rent rooms, and that didn't work out, and traveling from town to town and trying to find a place. So it absolutely did. But hey, everybody's got their views and opinions on it. Like I said, first touchy subject of the podcast. Let's go ahead and get that off of our back. Yes, something we can talk about. So I took her off on a cruise to Mexico, had this big, elaborate, how I'm going to propose plan.
Dang, I should have pulled out them pictures.
Yeah, you should have. I set up horseback riding on the beach. They played it out to be so fancy and nice, paid all this money, and
I could have just seen Andrew trying to get off a horse to propose to me.
I'm not into horses. Tiffany loves horses. People know that from our other channel. So we get to Mexico, and I've got it all planned out. The ring in the pocket. I've already got this horse ride set up on the beach.
And I had no clue.
She had no idea.
No idea.
So we've got to drive all the way to the other side of the island. To this supposed just romantic beach and horse ride that we had set up. So as soon as we get on the bus down there with a pile of other people, unbeknownst to me, I won't never forget such a funny taxi ride of all places. It's basically a taxi bus in Mexico, and the driver's sitting up there. We're all getting settled in. I'm nervous as can be because all I'm focusing on is I'm about to propose. I'm about to propose. Here we go. And the guy gets up, the tour guide, and holds up a beer and says, "Hey, would y'all like to have a beer?" And everybody on the bus is, American. And we're all looking at each other like, you can't
the trick?
You can't drink and drive. You can't do that at all. And then he literally pulls it back down and he goes, "Oh, I'm sorry. That's right. You can't drink and drive or drink and ride in vehicles." And then he turns back around and he said, "But this is Mexico. You can do anything you want in Mexico," or something like that. And started handing out beer, and then off we went. And for all I know, our driver may have been drinking and driving. My goodness gracious. So anyways, we go all the way around the island, pull up to this not so romantic place, full of dead trees from hurricanes past. Not the scenery I was envisioning. And we never went and rode on the beach. We literally took horseback trails through beaten dead brush. It looked like Texas hill country. And there was little Mayan ruins that they were going to show us, and I'm quite certain a lot of that stuff was staged, by the way. I don't think it was real Mayan ruins.
I was just happy to be riding horses. I didn't even care about what they were talking about or what we were doing, really.
So I didn't propose. We got back, and I was extremely disappointed. I was upset. I was like, this is not how I'm proposing out here in this brush country with these fake Mayan ruins on this horrible horseback ride. That's not what was sold to me. So we get all the way back around the cruise ship. I don't know if y'all have ever been to Cozumel. That's where we're at, by the way. There's no beach. There's no nothing. It's just rocks. So I told her, I was like, let's go for a walk. I'm trying to get out of the hustle and bustle on the tourist trap side of town. I want to find a beach. I want to propose.
Yeah, he was like on a mission. I didn't know what he was wanting to shop for or what he was doing.
I'm starting to get us to the side of town where you're about to get stabbed or killed or something, but I got to find it. And lo and behold, I just cannot find a beach, but I find a walkway down to some little patch of sand with some rocks, and there's gorgeous blue water out there. Don't get me wrong. It's beautiful water and everything else. And I kneeled down and proposed, and I won't never forget the look in your eye of, what is this fool doing?
Yeah, I had no idea.
She had no idea. And I literally got a ring right here where she can't see. I'm on one knee, and I'm asking her, and she's just like, what the heck are you doing? What are you doing? I forget how it went out, but it felt like minutes. It took seconds to get you to realize, here's a ring.
Yeah, I was like, are you joking with me right now? And he's like, no, you don't see the ring? And I was like, oh, no. Oh, God. Oh, okay.
Oh, goodness gracious.
Should have put it a little bit higher.
Well, you had it hidden, so.
Yeah.
So she said yes, obviously, because she done told me she was going to say yes. Well, a little while before that when she's like, you going to put a ring on it? So I got to thinking, and I went through the whole talk with mom and really thought it through and kind of, I don't really know what took me so long, to be perfectly honest, because we were living, happily ever after as you could, young and broke. But,
Yeah, young and broke.
yeah, young and broke, and we sure enough were. And, well, again, the rest is history. So we've been happily married ever since. She's only left me twice. I'm kidding. I'm totally kidding. She's never left me. She has packed her bag a couple times and threatened. I used to be pretty tough to live with.
Yeah, I might have had to, make a big point.
Well, we got married in our very early 20s, and
Yep,
so
I was 21. You were 23.
So.
Yeah.
Still children at the time. I'd already bought a house. I had owned a business.
We were mature young adults.
We absolutely were. But in as far as
we had to
worldly ways and
yeah.
teachings, we hadn't experienced a whole heck of a lot. And we went through some rough times. I had a business back then. I had to close it down with the last housing bubble that bust. And we went through some really tough times financially that taxed us. And that's a whole reason of where we're at today. We can say that we just built this house. We're mortgage free. We paid for it. We've had so many life lessons along the way from marriage and finances and things like that. And again, that's some of the stuff I want to talk about on the podcast. I hope to inspire and encourage people, especially when it comes to financial stuff. While we haven't had a ton of life's experience worth sharing, I think we've had some good ones and some stuff, some wisdom and knowledge that I'm just hoping we can talk about and kind of dissect and get out there on some podcasts, as well as some funny moments, some sad moments, and all kinds of other stuff.
Before we get away from the marriage part, I got a couple more pictures.
About you got some divorce papers for me? That'd be funny first one.
Here is our wedding picture.
So married in 2007, December the 22nd. There we are. We got married at my mom and dad's house because, again, we're on pretty hard times. And I'm still so proud of that. We had a very, very nice wedding for
we
very
planned it in 3 months.
Yep, planned it 3 months. Very affordable.
For under $1,000.
Under $1,000, y'all. That's her wedding dress, everything. We were so proud of it.
Wedding party. His best friend, my best friend. This is Andrew's personality at our wedding the whole time because he just loves taking pictures.
Not really. It's so funny I fell in. That's always a joke with my family. So funny I have fell into social media to where literally my life is recorded and I talk to a camera all the time because I despise pictures. I hate pictures. But apparently video, hey, I'm cool with.
You're cool with video.
I'm cool with, especially when paychecks started
you get to
rolling
talk,
in.
And it's
Yeah, I like to talk, and then whenever paychecks started rolling in, hey, this is kind of cool. Although, by the way, that is the downside of starting a brand new channel as we've just done. No monetization, no nothing. We're doing all this for fun. Yay. But I think it is going to be fun, and you never know what it may turn into.
Right.
So yeah, married in 2007, December the 22nd, right before Christmas. I planned that strategically. So here's your one big gift. Not really. It's just the way it worked out.
For family coming into town and all that.
It was beautiful. I'm glad we did what we did. No regrets whatsoever. I think we can both say that. So we're married. Tiffany is already doing her physical therapy. We haven't told everybody that. She does physical therapy. She's a PTA, an assistant, and goes in and helps and hurts a lot of people, as I say. I talk to her patients all the time. They're like, that girl can sure hurt somebody. But you got to hurt to get better when it comes to physical therapy. And a lot of people don't know this about me. Surprisingly, not many has asked. So I used to own a electronics business. I've always been very interested in electronics. So I graduated high school at 18. Actually wound up having a 75% paid scholarship, but just knew that there really wasn't much of anything that I felt like college offered me. And I was so passionate about electronics. I went and worked for an electronics company. And what was it, about two and a half, maybe 3 years later, I actually wound up buying that business. And let me tell you something. There is no better college or teaching in your life than at 20, 21 years old, buying your own business, having employees, figuring out all the finances and all the craziness the world can throw at you right there. Holy smokes, that was my college tuition, as I constantly tell a bunch of people. It was an insane roller coaster and wild ride. And it had lots of ups, lots of downs. I never made a ton of money in it. Boy, we for sure know that. But what was so nice was working for myself. And I guess a lot of people ask me, where'd you learn all your tricks on how to build a house and all this other stuff I do on the channel? I have no trades, no background in construction, any of that stuff. But I had to do so much hands-on stuff with that business, building of things.
Creative.
I had to be extremely creative.
Yeah.
And I guess that's where I learned a lot of some of the stuff that I do right here. Although it was in the electronics, but I still had a lot of fiberglass work and woodwork and all kinds of other stuff to do. So then, lo and behold, comes the housing bubble, the economy crash of 07. You start seeing it. 08, it really happens. 09, things are just hitting the fan. And we supported and held on to that business probably longer than we should have. About a year and a half into the crash, and had to make the decision. It was draining us financially. So closed that business down, toted a ton of debt away with it, and the only reason I talk about it is
instead of filing bankruptcy,
we did not file bankruptcy.
we
I toted it.
chose that decision
Yes.
and made that decision, and we chose to do it correctly and finish it out.
And this is something I really want to talk about in
Yep.
some future podcasts right here. But my name was put on something. I told the bank and everybody else I was going to pay you back, and I did. And let me tell you, when the economy crashed right then, there were no jobs, y'all. It's not like there is nowadays. There's jobs around every corner. There was none. And
I was working, I think, 3 jobs at the time
yeah,
to try to help us too.
and I wound up finally finding a job working for the state doing corrections. Worst job I ever had in my life. I don't wish it upon nobody. Those guys and girls don't get enough credit
Right.
for the crap that they put up with every day. They do not at all. So I worked that job for a couple years. I mowed yards on the side. I mean, I can literally remember getting off of work in the mornings, getting in the truck, going and mowing yards, coming home, eating supper, sleeping a couple hours, and then going back and working midnight shift.
Yeah.
I mean, it was tough, but we both busted our butts for years, paid back a tremendous amount of business debt, and I still
Just trying to survive as a young married couple.
I can remember this. What I tell everybody, we didn't go out to eat. We didn't do nothing. It taught us so much. That's when we found Dave Ramsey too. You know, you hear a lot of people talk about Dave Ramsey and how the heck are we going to climb out of this
I remember you
financial
going,
hole that we're in.
I want you to read this book. And I was like, okay.
Yep.
I ain't got time to read a book. Okay.
But oh my goodness, it taught us so much. But I can remember, I joke about this all the time, and this has always stuck with me more than anything whenever we kind of hit rock bottom right there. A 4-pack of beer. I can remember a 4-pack of beer at the time.
4-pack of beer?
Yeah, they used to sell 4-packs.
I was about to say.
They used to sell 4-packs back then. I remember feeling so extremely guilty if after a long day of mowing or finally had me a day off, if I wanted to drink me a cold beer. They were $3 and something back then, and I remember feeling so stinking guilty for buying $3 worth of beer. Like, oh man, talk about falling some tough times.
I remember being picked on by friends and sometimes even some family members about, like, y'all work so hard and, you're working 3 jobs and he's like, you can't afford this, you can't go do this, you can't afford that, you can't afford to go out to dinner, or, it'd make you feel bad, but nobody's seen the background of why we were working that hard and, making that money. They just, they didn't understand.
Well, they
And it was
expected us to
hard.
continue to do what we were doing, borrowing, staying
Yeah.
in debt, and we weren't going to do it. The old saying of stop doing what you're doing if you're tired of getting what you're getting, we'd already seen where they had got us. By the way, whenever I closed that business, I walked away with right at $80,000 in debt, and we paid it off in 48 months. And at the time, I was making $20-something thousand a year working for the state. Tiffany was making better than me, but not killer money.
Right.
It literally took everything that we made to pay. It was either $1,500 or $1,800 a month payment.
It was $1,800
Yeah,
a month.
$1,832 or something like
Yeah.
that we paid just on the business debt. There was no money left. By the time you paid a mortgage, electricity,
Our car
everything
payment.
else.
Well, I might have had a car payment at the time.
I didn't.
Sure.
I remember I drove this
Yeah.
old, raggedy old Toyota. I won't never forget it. Raider cap. Didn't even have a passenger side mirror. No clear coat on it. No AC. Mowing in the heat of the summer. And I tell you what, that taught me more life's lessons going through those few years right there than any college, any business degree, anything ever could have. So something we'll talk about later, not make this podcast go on for 2 hours. I don't even know how long it's been. When people attack us on social media. I have pretty thick skin. You have to for social media. But when people attack us about must be nice having what you have, seeing the things that we have in the background, seeing that we are mortgage free in our late 30s. I'm knocking on 40. When they see that and then they make these rude comments of must be nice or acting like it's all been handed to us,
Right.
it infuriates me because these
They
people
don't know the backstory.
Well, these people they're ignorant. They have fell in a rut in a hole that they refuse to dig themselves out of. We chose to do that many years ago, and we got made fun of. And we went through hard times, and we're reaping the rewards right now. We live in an extremely impatient world where people, gimme, got to have it right now, and they're not willing to do the hard work that you and I did years ago. So that's a whole nother podcast I want to hit on right there. You're getting kind of a look at some of the things that I really want to deep dive into, and hopefully it'll motivate and inspire people because we've lived it. A lot of people look at just the happy times that we edit and record, and we kind of make our videos look toward that, and they think that we've just got it all, that basically we're tired making videos for fun and we've been handed everything. That's just not the case
Well,
at all.
those times kind of prepared us for this, to set ourselves up for financially being able to, walk away from your last job and, do this as well, and having like a security blanket to.
Good point. So let's
Yeah.
roll right into that. How the heck did I get to social media and get it started? And I say I because, well, I kind of pushed it, and then I've kind of pulled you into it, so to speak. Hopefully I'm going to pull you into it more. So after going through all these hard times, I finally got a job working for a paper mill, working your old shift work job at them old stinking paper mills that you drive by. But it's the best paying thing around. It was so extremely hard to get into. I remember this paper mill had not hired in forever, and they finally started opening up after the economy slowly got better, and we're going to do some hiring. 800 people applied.
Yeah, it was competitive back then.
On the first job opening that they had.
Yeah.
It was extremely competitive. And I have never been through an interview process in my life as I did with this job. So they started taking applications. I submitted my application. Literally months goes by. Then you get a call of, hey, we want you to come in. I think it was for a written test at the time. Okay. Mm-hmm. Well, I went in and literally had to take like a few hour written test. Mathematics, reading comprehension, all kinds of stuff, engineering. I'm like, holy smokes, I'm just applying for a paper mill job here. What's going on? So based on how you scored out of that, more time goes by, maybe another month or so. This was like a 6-month process to get hired on. I've never seen anything like it.
Hair samples.
Well, we're getting there. And there's more. So apparently I did okay on that. So now you get called into the next group there. I had to go do a physical fitness test. I kid you not, stair step. I had to go to a physical therapy department.
Right. Yeah,
I had to go do
that.
stair steppers while being monitored by therapists. Breathing. They had an obstacle course set up outside. I've stopped the guy. I said, am I applying for the military here? What's going on? We had to pull and drag stuff. We had to belly crawl across barrels underneath stuff. It was a physical agility test to make sure that you're able to go out and work in this paper mill that has multiple stories of steps and things, and you just don't know what your job may be out there. We had to do wrenches. We had to show how we picked up heavy things while being monitored by people just like her to make sure you're not bending with your back and doing everything correctly. It was intense. I've never seen anything like it. 800 people applied. This went on for 6 months. Hair samples, all kinds of drug tests, background tests on your family. I remember they had to check some family. Insane. And then I finally got the call about 6 months later.
That is crazy.
While I'm working this dead-end job at the Department of Corrections, the
Right.
most miserable,
You wanted out so
depressing
bad.
job I've ever worked in my life. I
bad.
literally had fell into depression. Literally had. I finally got the call. It's yours if you want it. I was hired in the first 8 out of 800 people.
Yeah, it was a relief.
What a heck of a relief. What a heck
Big
of a
relief.
So needless to say, I took that job because I wanted to get away from the Departments of Corrections so fast. And I remember, I won't ever forget, I had a friend tell me, we were hanging out at a party. Heck, I'm probably going to tear up. And he told me, so good to have you back. I didn't realize how far I had slipped, how depressed I had got. And whenever I finally got this new job, and I was so happy, oh God, there's life again.
Right. Well, your father worked out there, so you knew the benefits that came with it. You knew, I mean, it helped your family, helped you grow up. You know, watching your dad work out there.
Yeah.
Your other family members.
It meant so much, but my friend told me it's so good to have you back. I was like, what the heck do you mean? He's like, we thought we'd lost you. I mean, I went in so much depression. I was so...
He wouldn't talk. He just...
Yeah, I didn't talk.
come
I just
home.
didn't care.
Yeah.
All I knew was work, pay off debt, and you know it. You just grind.
Yeah.
That's all I knew. So, get this job. Life is great. Here's another thing. Just like the $3 beer I felt guilty of. I won't never forget this. I'm only a few weeks into this job, and I remember I used to bring home $405 exactly.
From what job?
From working at the prison.
Oh, okay.
I think, that wasn't every 2 weeks. Maybe that was every week. Yeah, $405. But it was tough. Oh my goodness, it was so tough. And I won't never forget, just a few weeks into working this new job. Now I'm working overtime and everything I get my hands on. I'm a new guy. I'm hungry. I won't ever forget my first paycheck that I made $810 in a week. I doubled. I made in 1 week what I used to make in 2 weeks at the prison. And then I had a week where I made 3 times. And then I had a week with holiday pay and crazy amounts of overtime where I made in 1 week what I made the entire month working for the state.
Yeah.
Holy smokes. I'm on cloud 9 now. We're paying our debts off. Life is good. I mean, it's great. Didn't have no time off working at this paper mill. Holy smokes at the hours they expect you to work. Tons of overtime.
Yep.
Tons
It cost.
It came at a cost. But I was happier than working a dead-end job at the prison, working shift work for no pay. So, fast forward. I'm working this job for quite a few years. I worked my way up into, believe it or not, management. With this company, I'm over several departments. And, I mean, life's good. Pays went up. Things are great. But I'm literally living my life out there. A phone's on my hip. I'm on call 24/7. You may have to work Christmas. You're going to work some weekends. That's just the way it is. And you're going to work 12 to 16-hour days a lot of times for salary. Doesn't matter how many hours you work. And, well, after almost 10 years of that, 9 years, the funds wore off. Then you start realizing we've got our property. You know, we bought our property. We paid for a lot of things here, cash. Again, I want to talk about it in another podcast. And then the reality of, well, this dollar doesn't make me as happy as I thought it would. I'm sure glad we got stuff paid off and we got where we're at. But then you start coming to the realization of I'm never home. Money's good. Bank account looks good. But the money isn't all it's cracked up to be. And a lot of people in life figure that out. And that's when they kind of hit a second round of depression. This thing you've chased your whole life. We're taught to chase that money, chase that dollar, chase that job. And then whenever you finally get it, you realize this isn't all it was cracked up to be. You buy your things and you realize they don't fulfill you. So that's when I started seeing these people talking about quitting their job and doing social media. And I was already dabbling in it some. And I realized, holy crap, there is a potential for me to work from home, be home, sleep in my bed at night, not work these crazy hours, not have a cell phone ringing at 2 a.m. calling me into the mill. And I maybe, tax write-offs, all the other benefits come along with it. And I remember sitting down on that couch with you at our last house, and that was about 3.5 years ago at this point. And I said, give me 1 year.
I think it was a little bit longer.
3.5 to 4 years ago. But I remember saying, give me 1 year. If by, the next December, if I can have X number of subscribers, and we made these little rules. And this next year, we're going to continue to save and prepare ourselves financially for me to walk away from the best job I've ever had in my life. Right. Best benefits, best everything. This is crazy. I'm not a big risk taker, y'all. I'm really not. This is crazy for me to talk to her about this. But
he's not a big risk taker at all. So
I'm not.
For him to go into the unknown of this, I was like, wow, he's okay.
So what I was asking for was, let's spend some of our hard-earned and save money. I need to buy a laptop and some editing software. I need to buy cameras and all this stuff behind the scenes that people don't see that makes this stuff work. All these thousands of dollars you invest in making social media content. And I have the most supportive wife in the world. You said, okay, we'll go for it. That year rolled by. We actually beat the goal that we had set aside for the subscribers. I seen that there was growth and actual potential there. I was actually getting paychecks that were cashing from social media. We wanted to verify that first too. And this rocked on for quite a few more months. set ourselves up financially a little more, got things paid and out of the way, and I did the unthinkable. Walked away from probably the best paying job in this entire area.
Yeah.
Ooh, talk about nerve wracking. And I still have yet to this day to regret it. I'm at home every night. Our relationship's healthier and better.
Right.
The property has never looked better. I was able to build us our dream home, although it's no mansion. And it's awesome. And what I didn't realize too is, one, all the amazing tax write-offs that come with social media. We'll talk about that some in the future too. But all the amazing people that we've met.
Oh, yeah.
We're about to wrap this podcast up. It's New Year's, by the way. And go outside and get set up for our live stream and talking with some of the most amazing people that you can imagine. I'm sure some of y'all have followed us over
We've
this
built
channel.
like a YouTube family.
It is. A lot of people call them fans and viewers and all. Yes, you are, but no, a lot of the people we've met are true friends now and family. Mm-hmm. That's the side of social media that kind of caught me off guard that I never experienced before and didn't realize was going to happen. And to this day, I 100% don't regret the decision we made. What about you?
No, I don't regret it either. I'm happy that you get to be here and, I mean, you put so much hard work into it. So for it to kind of sound like it's just easy that you're at home and you're doing what you want to do, it's a lot of hard work. A lot of hard work. He literally wakes up and he works from the minute he wakes up from, while you're probably in the bathroom doing your business.
I do respond to a lot of people while in the bathroom first thing in the morning.
Till you hit your head at the pillow. I mean, you're laying there with your head on the pillow, still answering comments and working at night. So there's a lot of hard work that goes into it. But no, I don't regret it at all. Nope. I wish I was able to enjoy it more with you.
So that is the goal. Here it is, New Year's Day. That's the 2023 goal, y'all. I think we have a very rocky road and rough year ahead, sadly. We've created another housing bubble, and here we are again. History repeats itself. We'll discuss some of this on the podcast as well. Have lots of views and opinions on the horrible repeat decisions that we as Americans keep making, how we've got ourselves in this situation. I pray I'm wrong and we don't have a bad economy this year, because ultimately that'll impact ad revenue and social media 100%. That's the bad thing about this. I never know my income. 1 month, hey, I'm ready to tell you quit your job. We've done made plenty for you to come home. Then the next month I'm going, holy smokes, I wonder if the meal will take me back. I'm not even making enough here. It's just such a wild roller coaster ride. So I think that's an excellent 2023 goal. We've been seeing really steady growth on the channels. We're making new channels. We're venturing out into merchandise and all kinds of other stuff, trying to work. This is a legitimate business, and we're giving it 110%. We really are. But I would love to get you
I just
home.
want to keep it going in the right direction. I mean, whether it's this year or next year.
Well, we
that
are.
I'm home doing it more. I'm thankful that what it's already done for us, and I just want it to keep going in the right direction. So.
Well, it's because of people like you that are watching and supporting and sharing us that we're able to sit here and do this, and we appreciate you so much. But I think a good goal for 2023 is to try to at least get you home part-time. Hopefully we see enough growth for that, because I know you enjoy doing what you're doing. You just may not enjoy all the hours and coming home and doing notes all night long and having such a loaded schedule.
And I would love to be able to still experience things here with you and do things with you too.
Yeah.
So
I would love to get you on video more. Lots of y'all ask for that. So, well, I tell you what, I think this is a good place to kind of wrap this up. That's who we are. That's how we've got to where we are. We'll go into more in-depth conversations later, but just want to remind people this is going to be all over the place. And again, people, sensitive. If you're sensitive, you may hear some things.
Well, I just think the disclaimer needs to be that everybody has their own opinion.
Absolutely.
And they might not agree with your opinion. We might not agree with their opinion. But don't take it to the extreme. Like, you don't have to take what any of us say to an extreme. We don't have to take what you, just be open-minded, like you said in the beginning.
Absolutely. Open-minded
to others'
listen.
thoughts. And it's okay to not agree with each other. That's what makes the world go round, that we don't all agree with each other. It's okay to be that way.
I don't think people realize that. This would be the most boring place ever if everybody was exactly the same. Everybody thinks that's the perfect marriage. Oh, they're just alike. Or if everybody could just get along, well, yeah, getting along would be good. But if everybody had the same interest and same thoughts, this would be one unbelievably boring place. It really would. You need they always say opposites attract, and there's a lot of truth to that, and there's a good reason why. But with that said, let's go ahead and wrap up this podcast. Not professional at all introduction. Eventually, we're going to be getting us a little podcast area set up in the house. I just finished my office. We're going to get off the kitchen table. Let's just say that. We're going to get a little more professional. Yeah, a little more professional looking space. But I wanted to go ahead and launch this thing. I had to get my channel started today. Let's get some content on it. And if you enjoy this kind of behind the scenes, get to know us, or some of the topics that I've already said that we're going to discuss.
If you have any topics,
absolutely.
let us know.
Thank you for bringing that up. So
Yeah.
while I have a ton of topics that are near and dear to me that I really want to talk about, eventually I'm going to run out of content. So please leave comments on this. Let us know if there's something that piqued your interest in any of our conversations that we have moving forward that you would like to hear more about, and we may make an entire topic on it. What I plan to do in the future is start bringing guests on via, internet. If I can stream them over some software, I'm looking into that right now. I'm going to physically bring guests in here, and we're just going to have a smorgasbord, so to speak, of topics to discuss. But I absolutely do plan on pulling some topics from y'all's comments. So I read every single comment, 100%. Eventually, I'm just going to reach a day that I can't with all the social media accounts that we have. But I'm very interested in hearing your feedback on the podcast going forward, topics that you want to dive into, interests that you may have about us and our lifestyle, and we'll discuss it. Tiffany's obviously going to come back on here plenty, as well as a bunch of other faces that you've never seen before. So with that said, thank you for being my first guest on, our podcast.
I know, you're making it sound like it's your own podcast.
Well, they're going to hear me talking so daggone much and see me so much, it's going to really look like that. But it's really called the Kelleys Off Script. And I plan on us, again, having some Kelleys After Dark conversations and some more stuff about who we are and behind the scenes that we just don't include on the other channels. So thank y'all for tuning in. Hopefully you enjoyed it. We'll catch you on episode number 2.